It was the sound of the back door clicking shut that woke me. At first, I thought it was nothing, just the house settling, or maybe the wind rattling a loose latch. But when I rolled over and saw the empty space beside me in bed, my heart sank. He wasn't there. My husband, the man who usually snored softly next to me, was gone. I pushed myself up, blinking at the clock. 2 in the morning. That's when I heard the low rumble of the garage door, followed by the cough of the car engine. My breath hitched. I crept to the window and pulled the curtain just enough to peek outside. And there he was, backpack slung over his shoulder, glancing around like a thief before sliding into the driver's seat. I can't explain the way my stomach dropped in that moment. No husband sneaks out at 2 a.m. for anything innocent. The ugliest thought came first, uninvited but sharp as glass. Another woman. It wasn't just paranoia. For weeks, I had noticed little things that didn't add up. His phone never left his pocket anymore. The screen always tilted away from me. Messages disappeared before I could ask about them. He had started coming home later, brushing off my questions with half-hearted excuses, traffic, a project at work, grabbing a drink with the guys. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to be the wife who trusted without question. But deep down, something felt wrong. That night, watching him slip into the darkness, I realized I couldn't ignore it anymore. My hands shook as I grabbed my keys off the counter. My chest was so tight it hurt to breathe. I wasn't sure what I was about to find, but I knew if I stayed in that bed, I'd go insane imagining the worst. So I followed. The roads were nearly empty, the kind of eerie quiet that makes every sound louder. I kept my headlights far back, heart racing every time his brake lights flickered red. I couldn't shake the image of him pulling into some woman's driveway, walking inside like he belonged there, leaving me to rot in the lie he'd built around us. But the longer I drove, the more confused I became. He didn't take the freeway toward downtown, where most people might sneak to meet someone in a hotel. He didn't head toward the suburbs either. Instead, his car wound through back streets, cutting deeper into a part of town I barely recognized. When he finally slowed, I eased off the gas, praying he wouldn't notice me. He pulled into the lot of a crumbling old warehouse, its windows broken, its walls tagged with graffiti. My pulse hammered in my ears. This wasn't what I expected at all. My fear of another woman wavered, replaced by something darker. I parked half a block away, killing my lights. The night air was heavy, still, pressing in on me as I crept closer on foot. My sneakers crunched on loose gravel, every sound amplified in the silence. He walked with purpose, glancing over his shoulder before ducking into a side door where 2 bulky men stood guard. They didn't frisk him. They didn't stop him. They just nodded, like they'd been expecting him. My mouth went dry. This wasn't an affair. It was something else. Something I wasn't ready to understand. I edged closer, pressing myself against the cold wall, peering through a narrow crack in the rusted doorframe. Inside, I saw flashes of light, heard voices raised, the clatter of chips and cards hitting tables. My stomach turned. This wasn't a secret romance. This was a secret life. And as I stood there, frozen in the shadows, the truth began to settle over me like ice. My husband wasn't sneaking out to another woman. He was sneaking into a world I never knew he belonged to, a world that could destroy us both. I pressed my ear against the rusted doorframe, straining to make sense of the noise inside. The room buzzed with tension, voices overlapping, chairs scraping, the sharp slap of cards on wood. My heart hammered as I spotted him in the crowd, my husband, sitting at a table surrounded by strangers. His face was tight, almost desperate as he shuffled a stack of chips between his fingers. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Relief hit me first. He wasn't with another woman. But that relief soured instantly because what I was seeing wasn't better. It was worse, much worse. A man leaned across the table, voice low but firm, and I caught fragments. "You're already in deep. No more credit. Pay up or else." My stomach twisted. Another voice, colder, added, "You've got 1 week. No money, no mercy." My husband's jaw clenched. He rubbed his temples, whispering something I couldn't catch. The man across from him slammed his fist on the table, sending chips scattering. My husband flinched. That single flinch told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't in control here. He was trapped. I wanted to burst in, to scream at him, to drag him out by his collar, but my legs refused to move. Instead, I fumbled for my phone, recording through the crack in the door. Every word, every threat, every desperate promise spilled into the microphone like poison. My hands shook, But I held steady, forcing myself to watch the stranger my husband had become. It hit me then. The late nights, the missing money, the lies that rolled off his tongue like second nature. He wasn't working overtime. He wasn't grabbing drinks. He was gambling away our life piece by piece, tearing down everything we had built together. And he hadn't even thought to warn me, to ask for help. He had chosen secrets instead of honesty, ruin instead of trust. When the meeting ended, he stood, shoulders slumped, sweat dampening his shirt. The men clapped him on the back, some laughing, others whispering threats I couldn't fully hear. I ducked behind a dumpster as he walked out, lighting a cigarette with trembling hands. He looked like a man carrying the weight of the world, but all I felt was betrayal. By the time he drove off, I was shaking so hard my teeth chattered. I stumbled back to my car, replaying what I'd seen in my head like a nightmare on repeat. I thought the worst thing I could uncover was another woman. I thought my heart couldn't handle the idea of infidelity. But this was different. This wasn't just my marriage at risk, it was my entire life. The drive home felt endless. Every streetlight cast shadows across the dashboard, each one whispering doubts. Should I confront him right away? Should I pretend I knew nothing and dig deeper? For a moment, I almost convinced myself to let it slide, to hope he'd fix it on his own. But then I remembered the threats, the anger in those men's voices. No, this wasn't going away. When I finally pulled into the driveway, the house loomed ahead, dark and silent. I sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles ached. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. Instead, a different fire lit inside me. I wasn't just a wife who had been lied to. I was a woman who had been put in danger without her consent, and I wasn't about to let him drag me down with him. Inside, he was already in bed, feigning sleep. His breathing was uneven, too fast, too shallow. He didn't even notice me standing there, staring at him in the dark. For the first time in our marriage, I felt like I was looking at a stranger. And in that moment, I made a silent promise to myself. I would uncover everything, every lie, every debt, every secret he thought he could bury in the shadows. He wanted to gamble with our lives in the dark? Fine. But I was about to bring it all into the light. The next morning, I woke before him. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee gone cold, staring at the screen of my laptop. Numbers blurred before my eyes. Bank statements, loan applications, transfers I never approved. The deeper I dug, the sicker I felt. Our savings were nearly gone. He had taken out loans in both our names. Even the deed to our home was listed as collateral. By the time he stumbled into the kitchen, I had proof stacked in neat little piles. Printed bank statements, screenshots, even the recording from the night before. He rubbed his eyes, yawning like it was any ordinary day. My chest tightened with fury. How dare he walk in like nothing had happened? "Where were you last night?" I asked, my voice low, steady. He froze, hand halfway to the coffee pot. His eyes flicked to the papers on the table, then back to me. For a moment, I saw the mask slip. Fear, guilt. Then he forced a smile. "Work. I told you, there's a big project. Late hours." Slid my phone across the table. The recording played. The threats, his voice promising money he didn't have, the laughter of men who owned him. His face drained of color. The coffee pot slipped from his fingers, shattering on the tile. "Please," he whispered, sinking into a chair. "It's not what you think." "Oh, really?" I snapped. "Because it sounds like you've been gambling away our life, our house, our future, and you didn't even bother to tell me." Tears welled in his eyes. He grabbed my hand, desperate. "I did it for us, I swear. I just wanted to make things better, pay off debts, maybe even win enough to give us the life we deserve. I didn't mean for it to go this far." For a split second, I almost believed him. I remembered the man I had married, the promises we made. But then I thought of the lies, the secrecy, the threats of men who could show up at our door any day. My chest hardened. This wasn't love. This was betrayal dressed in excuses. "You risked everything," I said quietly, pulling my hand away. "Not just money. You risked me. You risked us." He fell to his knees, sobbing, swearing he'd fix it. He promised he'd stop, that he'd come clean, that he'd do whatever it took. But I wasn't the naive woman he thought I was anymore. I had already made my choice. The following days blurred into a storm. I contacted the authorities. I handed over the recordings, the documents, everything I had uncovered. I told his family too. The people who thought he was a respectable man, a responsible husband. Watching their faces crack with disbelief was almost satisfying. When the men he owed came looking, they didn't find me cowering behind him. They found me prepared, with lawyers, with evidence, with a wall of protection he never expected me to build. His empire of lies collapsed around him, brick by brick, until he was left exposed, stripped of the power he thought he held over me. The last time I saw him, he looked smaller somehow, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow, hands trembling. He tried to beg one last time, to pull me back into his mess, but I had nothing left to give. I thought the worst thing you could do was love someone else, I told him, my voice steady, my heart strangely calm. But you didn't just cheat on me, you cheated me out of the life we built, and that's something I'll never forgive. I walked away before he could answer. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt free. People ask me sometimes if I regret exposing him, if I ever wonder what might have happened if I had looked the other way. The truth? No, not once. Because an affair would have broken my heart. But what he did, that nearly broke my life. And I wasn't about to let him gamble me away.